5 bizarrely depraved kings of medieval times you never knew existed, too shocking to ignore. In the dark corners of history, whispers of terror and scandal lurked, waiting to be uncovered. 5 kings, yes, 5. Whose reigns dripped with the kinds of horrors we wouldn't dare dream. Each upturned stone revealed secrets sickening enough to churn your stomach, and every tale more sinister than the last. This isn't just history, it's a chilling legacy woven with madness, blood, and depravity. King Henry of Navarre was a man who twisted love into a weapon. He held contests, but not for fair praise or glory, no, his contests were about the gruesome hunt for the perfect young maiden. With fire in his eyes, he hunted his prey like a wolf, ensuring that each catch would meet an end so brutal it would echo through the halls of history. His loyal subjects watched in horror, their faces ashen as knives glinted under torchlight. Then there was the notorious King Pseudo-Manfredus, who had a passion for grotesque fashion. His preference? Dresses made from the skin of his enemies. Imagine the whispers that filled the court, the beauty twisted into something nightmarish. His gallery of skin-stretched gowns horrified even the bravest souls. They say the walls of his castle still hold the echoes of his maniacal laughter. Tension tightened like a noose around the throat when tales of King Roderick the Ruthless spread through taverns and market squares. He demanded severe taxes, but not just gold or silver. He sought offerings of blind loyalty. Those who dared defy him were treated to nights of terror, tossed into dungeons where darkness gnawed on the souls of the whispered. Did you hear? The screams of dissent echoed down stone corridors, chilling the blood of even the boldest. But hold on. Before we dive deeper into this breathtaking saga, let us pause for a second. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As if that wasn't enough to wrench at your heartstrings, King Leopold the Laminable delighted in torturing those who fell from favor. He devised a twisted game of betrayal, pitting friends against one another, ensuring that no bond would survive his shadow of despair. The last moments of loyal necks turned cold under the slicing blade became his crude entertainment, bars of laughter carving deep wounds into the soul of the castle, and finally, there was Queen Isadora the Indomitable, intertwined with the forces she wielded. Rumors spoke of her insidious rituals, where she danced under a full moon, surrounded by ominous shadows that whispered promises of dark power. They say those who witnessed her trance were forever cursed, burdened with nightmares that would never let them go. Curiosity gnawed at their minds as each twisted tale tugged at their heartstrings, drawing listeners into the depths of a brutal past. And that lingering question hung heavy in the air: how far would one go for power in a world dripping with darkness? In the shadows of every castle, the specter of their misdeeds lingered, an ever-present reminder that true horror often wears a crown. What else lies dormant in the vaults of history, waiting for the brave to uncover? The chilling tales of these corrupt monarchs spread like wildfire, carving their dark paths deep into the history of the land. But their reigns didn't end with mere tales. They fueled an insatiable hunger for domination, a twisted desire reflected in the heart of every ruler that came after them. Whispers of a hidden kingdom began to swirl amid the tales of horror. A shadowy realm ruled by a king who perfected the art of manipulation, King Valerius the Vile. Unlike his predecessors, who reveled openly in blood and despair, Valerius's cruelty thrived beneath layers of charm. He presented himself as a beacon of hope, an eloquent speaker capable of drawing in the masses. But once you wandered into his lair, a mask of civility fell away, revealing the monster within, a serpent ready to strike. The king crafted a web of deceit so intricate that even his trusted nobles found it hard to escape. His court appeared decadent, filled with laughter, music, and exquisite feasts. Yet each feast was a trap, a way to sift through loyalty, to snuff out dissent. He would watch with predatory glee as a traitor trembled, realizing too late that the banquet was his last meal. Meanwhile, in the streets beyond the castle walls, desperation bloomed. Villagers, once filled with hope, were now clutching their loved ones tighter, living in fear that the very next moment could lead to their demise. And so the legends grew. They spoke of shadows lurking in corners, of eyes watching from the dark. They said Valerius could smell betrayal from a mile away, wrapping it like a cloak around him, but as the fear deepened, a tension simmered beneath the surface. A group of brave souls dared to unite against this tyrannical force. Led by a fiery spirit named Alaric, they were determined to expose Valerius's true intentions. They gathered in secret, exchanging tales of atrocities and piecing together the clues hidden under the glamour of the king's facade. Their hearts pounded with every whispered challenge, each vow to strike against the heart of evil fueling their resolve. The moon bathed their meeting spot in an otherworldly glow, casting long shadows that danced as they conspired. The air was thick with tension, invigorated by fear yet set alight with hope. Alaric raised his voice, "We cannot sit idly," as he tightens his grip. "Together, we will unveil this darkness under which we suffered. We shall reveal to the world the monster cloaked in royal robes." The fervor surged through them, and even those who had once been fearful leaned in, their eyes burning with newfound determination. But deep in the corridors of Valerius's castle, dark eyes narrowed. The king was evolving, his manipulations growing sharper, cunning enough to detect their rising threat. With the stakes set so high, the game of power was reaching a fever pitch. Would Alaric and his rebels succeed in dismantling Valerius's iron grip, or would they be yet another tale of victims lost in a history so steeped in blood and betrayal? As they prepared to make their stand, an unexpected betrayal lurked within their ranks, waiting for the right moment to strike. What other dark secrets lie buried, waiting to be unleashed? Who would be the first to pay the ultimate price for the pursuit of freedom? The fate of the realm hung in a delicate balance, teetering on the edge of chaos. Alaric's heart raced. The weight of their resolve almost crushed him, but the flicker of hope ignited a fire within. As they plodded under the pale moonlight, unbroken determination coursed through the small gathering. They had sworn to expose King Valerius, but how could they reach the ears of the unsuspecting villagers? A plan unfolded, fragile yet brimming with potential. "Trust," Alaric whispered, his voice taut. "We need allies. Those who share our fear. Our anger." He could see the sparks igniting in their eyes. Discontent simmered in pockets of the kingdom, just waiting for someone brave enough to stoke the flames. Yet somewhere, hidden beneath the shadows of the grand castle, a pair of lurking eyes watched with unyielding focus, a traitor in their midst. Elena, once a fierce warrior, now stood torn between loyalty to Alaric and her fear of Valerius's wrath. She felt sickened by the treachery of her own thoughts. Just one slip, one word to the king, and countless lives would pay the price. The weight of this decision hung heavy in her chest, each heartbeat echoing doubt. If she chose to betray them, she'd escape the king's wrath but destroy the only connection that made her feel alive. Glancing out the window, she saw the castle's eerie glow illuminating the night. A puppet show of power and despair, a cruel performance she could no longer endure. Meanwhile, within the castle's lavish halls, whispers of rebellion curled around Valerius like smoke. He sensed the unrest, felt it pulse beneath the surface like a tidal wave on the brink of crashing. The king only smiled, a chilling grin that exposed his predatory instincts. He leaned back in his opulent chair, fingers tapping, plotting his next move. The feast would come soon, and with it, another opportunity to trap those who dared to defy him. "Gather the court for tomorrow's banquet," he ordered, a low, dangerous hum weaving through his voice. "We shall provide them a show they won't forget." His advisors nodded, their faces pale, but those who had crossed him felt a different kind of hunger, a thirst for blood that brought them closer to madness. As the night thickened, Alaric's band of rebels dispersed, each heart racing with resolve. They would infiltrate the castle during the feast, spreading word of the king's sinister plans. But trust was a fragile thread. Beneath a veil of ambition lingered the question that gnawed at them: who could they truly rely on? Elena, torn by anguish, drifted into the shadows beyond the hearth, where the flickering flames danced like phantoms. Should she warn Alaric? Should she betray the man who had fought for her cause? Each agonizing thought clashed within her. It could mean death for her friends or worse, the continuation of their misery under Valerius. Before dawn could break, the rebels lay their plans bare, a precarious strategy with no room for error. In hushed tones, they vowed to meet under the cover of night, ready to stir the embers of revolt into an inferno, yet as Alaric led them away, an icy finger of dread crept down his spine. There was a dark force brewing, a subtler threat in the shadows. The banquet loomed like a storm on the horizon, promising both hope and ruin. What secrets would be revealed within the court walls? Which betrayal would break them first, and would Elena's heart ultimately decide the fate of them all? On this precipice, they prepared to dive headfirst into the depths of madness, but was it bravery or folly? Only time would tell. The sun crept up reluctantly, casting a muted glow over the castle as the day of the banquet arrived. Alaric felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. They had only hours left to gather their resolve, to build the foundations of rebellion strong enough to withstand the storm that awaited them. Gathering in the forest clearing once more, whispers of anxiety punctuated their urgent discussions. Each rebel knew the stakes at play. This was not just about overthrowing a tyrant, it was about their very lives and the futures of their loved ones. A gust of cold wind rusted the leaves around them, and Alaric shivered, stealing a glance at Elena. She stood apart, her usual fierce spirit dulled by torment. "Are you ready?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She nodded, but her eyes betrayed her, they shimmered like glass, distant and haunting. "Let us not waste time," grunted Turan, a sturdy man with fists like iron. "Every moment we stand here is a moment for Valerius to snuff out our fire." His impatience sparked a ripple of fear. Alaric drew a steadier breath. "We'll slip inside as servants for the feast. It'll be chaotic, people forget their own names in a drunken frenzy. If we can spread our message swiftly." Suddenly, a rustling sounded from the edge of the trees. Every heart froze. Fear clenched their collective throat as the figure stepped into the daylight, a gnarled old woman, her eyes wild and knowing. "The king hears everything. The feast will drown in blood," she cried. "He knows you come to snuff out his candles. Beware the shadows, they twist with treachery." What if she was right? The thought gnawed at Alaric's resolve, sending chills through his body. He swallowed hard, sensing the tension plucking at their nerves. The world beyond the clearing felt achingly still, tainted by her words, and somewhere deep inside the castle, Valerius watched them through a glimmering crystal sphere, a device of dark magic that saw far beyond the simple flesh of his enemies. He smirked as the image flickered before him. "Let them come," he murmured, the thrill of impending chaos bright in his twisted heart. "I'll ensure they find only despair." His advisors clustered around him, eyes wide with fear and hungry for the carnage to come. Back in the clearing, Alaric shook off the ominous feelings pressing upon him. "We can't back down now," he yelled, his voice cracking. "We stand for those who suffer. For every village silent under the king's fist." Hope flickered back to life. The rebels rallied around him, their eyes steeled with defiance once more. Each heart ignited with urgency, each hand gripping weapons tightly. They formed a circle, shoulders squared against the looming treachery. Elena stepped forward, taking a deep breath. "We must not let fear channel our choices. We decide who we are today." Her voice, though shaky, held a strength that pierced the doubts swirling around them. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon in hues of blood orange, the cast of allies prepared to take on the castle. But an insidious thought crept into the back of Alaric's mind. Could they truly trust Elena, torn between loyalty and fear? With the banquet just hours away, they set out toward the castle, hearts pounding. Tonight, they would either rise or fall together. But lurking within each shadow, betrayal simmered like poison, ready to strike. Would Elena's heart ultimately reveal their fate? Or would the true betrayal come from somewhere they least expected, sealing their doom before the feast even started? The castle loomed ahead, dark and ominous against the deepening twilight. The air thickened with tension as Alaric led the rebels closer, their breaths forming clouds in the brisk evening air. Each step felt heavier than the last as doubt gnawed at him. He glanced at Elena, whose face was now set in grim determination. In this moment, she looked more like the fierce warrior he knew, her spirit rekindled in defiance of the fear that had gripped her earlier. "Stay sharp," he reminded them, tightening his grip on the hilt of his sword. Their plan resonated in his mind, weaving between hope and dread. They slipped past the castle gate like shadows. The banquet hall thrummed with laughter, the sound of clinking goblets spilling into the corridors, promising a night filled with pleasures unworthy of the bloodshed to come. Alaric exchanged looks with his comrades. Tonight, they would find their place in history, whether by survival or demise. As they moved, Alaric's heart raced under the thrill of being so close to Valerius. The man who had wrought suffering upon their people would be surrounded by his sycophants, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just outside. They maneuvered past the guards, blending into the fabric of servants racing beneath their cruel master's demands. The hall was a riot of colors. The grand table stretched far, lavishly laden with sumptuous meats and rich wines. The guests bounced between laughter and decadent revelry, their faces flushed, carefree. It twisted Alaric's stomach to see such excess while his people starved. Elena spotted an opening. "This way," she urged quietly, leading them to a side alcove where they could listen, faintly hidden from sight. As the rebels gathered close, Alaric strained to hear the merry banter that quickly shifted to whispers of the king's cruel exploits. "They say Valerius has a new game," one lord chimed, his crooked grin betraying a venomous delight. "Oh, yes." Another replied, blindfolded, "and if you're caught, you're no better than a pawn on his board." A wave of nausea rose within Alaric. They turned human lives into mere entertainment, a suggestion echoing in his mind that surely could not be allowed to stand. With the knight's laughter jarring against the somber truth of their mission, a figure moved through the throng. Valerius himself, adorned in rich black and gold, approached the edge of the table, his presence commanding. The air chilled around Alaric, the beauty of his clothing stark against the hollowness of his heart. Something strange flickered in Valerius's eye. He glanced around, as if sensing an unseen watcher. An uncomfortable shiver raced down Alaric's spine. Could he feel them through the layers of revelry? Then the moment shattered. A piercing scream burst from somewhere within the hall. The laughter stuttered into silence, eyes wide in shock as the crimson stain brightened across the tablecloth. Panic erupted. Guests scrambled back from the source of the disturbance, bumping into one another, the echoes of chaos spiraling into a maelstrom. "Now!" Alaric shouted, seizing the instant of confusion. "Move!" The rebels erupted from the alcove, pouring into the dining room like floodwaters, weapons drawn. Only to find Valerius, grinning with manic delight. "Welcome to my feast," he purred, the flicker of his eyes now feral. "I've been expecting you." Tension exploded, and Alaric's heart raced, dread clawing at him. The night had only just begun, and Valerius held more in his twisted grasp than they could ever imagine. As blades clashed and screams filled the air, Alaric realized, they had stepped into a trap, one more intricate than any of them could conceive. What more did the king have hidden beneath his wreckage of revelry and blood? And with the banquet morphing into a battlefield, could they ever escape the shadows he commanded? Chaos reigned as the rebels charged into the hall, a whirlwind fueled by desperation and fury. Alaric's senses blazed, laughter turned to screams, and the clinking of goblets faded into the clash of steel. His heart pounded like a war drum as he scanned the chamber, searching for Valerius amid the confusion. "Stick together!" he barked, desperation coating his voice. They had a moment, a fleeting chance to strike against the monster who had toyed with their lives. Elena moved like lightning, her blade raised high as she deflected a guard's blade with a metallic ring. "This way!" she shouted, cutting through the chaos to where a group of frightened guests huddled in the corner. They looked more like trapped prey than noblemen now. A defeated lord, eyes wide with terror, stumbled away from her, and she couldn't help but feel a twinge of pity. "They don't even know what's happening," she muttered, glancing at Alaric, who nodded grimly. There was no time for compassion tonight. From the other end of the hall, Valerius stood, reveling in the mayhem. He raised his hands, a sinister conductor orchestrating a symphony of horror. "Isn't it beautiful?" he cried out, his voice laced with a manic thrill. The sweet music of betrayal. Alaric's vision narrowed. Every fiber of his being urged him forward. Valerius had to be stopped. "Charge!" he roared, leading the rebels in a breakthrough, creating a chaotic wave that propelled them toward the king. Swords clattered and men shouted, bodies shoving together in frenzied desperation. The king was barely 10 feet away, yet the path felt treacherous and long, strewn with the shattered fragments of their plans. Just then, a gilded goblet sailed through the air, shattering at Valerius's feet. The king's gaze flickered with irritation, then ignited into a fury that sent shivers through the crowd. "Kill them all!" he screamed, his eyes wild. The guards leapt forward, thundering toward the rebels like a pack of wolves unleashed. A figure broke through the onslaught, a tall warrior with a jagged scar slicing through his cheek. "We come for you, Valerius!" he bellowed, his voice rough like gravel, drawing the guards' attention for a crucial moment. "That's my cue," Elena hissed. With a fierce resolve, she darted forward, dodging a wild swipe that nearly caught her side. Alaric fought beside her, their movements synced in a rhythm woven of necessity and instinct. Together they drove toward Valerius, but the tide of guards pushed back, relentless and unforgiving. Fear gripped Alaric. Was it worth it? Could they break through the wall of iron and cowardice? As the fray intensified, something strange caught his eye beneath a nearby table, an ornate box glimmering beneath the chaos. It seemed out of place, untouched amidst the slaughter. Instinctively, he felt drawn to it. "Alaric! Focus!" Elena shouted, parrying a blow from behind him. But the box pulled at his curiosity like a dark magnet. Valerius laughed, surveying the battlefield, his amusement palpable. "Do you think you can change your fate?" he taunted, cutting through Alaric's concentration. "This is not your night." With each swing and clash, doubt crept into Alaric's heart. What if they were wrong? What if they had stepped into a trap they couldn't escape? "Alaric!" Elena's voice sliced through the din again, sharp and clear, urging him back to reality. What lay within that box? What secrets did it hold? Would it lead them to victory, or deeper into Valerius's wicked game? With resolve hardening within him, he made a choice. "Elena, cover me." He lunged toward the box, not knowing what he would find but feeling that the answer was right there, ready to change their fate, but as he reached for it, a fierce shout rang out from behind him. "No!" Valerius's shriek pierced the air, and the ground shook underfoot. Alaric felt the weight of destiny close in around him, the sense of impending doom thrumming at his back. What awaited him within the box? And would uncovering its secrets seal their fate or spell their undoing? Alaric felt a surge of adrenaline as he lunged for the box. His fingers brushed its cool surface just as the sound of chaos recoiled around him. He could almost hear Valerius's breath behind him, sharp and furious, like a hunter closing in on prey. Elena fought valiantly, her blade a flashing beacon amidst the storm. She struck down a guard and kicked another aside, her eyes darting towards Alaric. "Hurry! We need to move." But time slowed. The box felt significant, like it pulsed with a heartbeat of its own. An uneasy hum drew Alaric closer. Throwing caution to the wind, he grasped the lid and lifted, breathing in the scent of ancient wood mixed with something foreign, something darker. A bright light burst forth, blinding him momentarily. Startled gasps filled the air as those around him paused in the fray, eyes wide in disbelief. Then, he saw it, a collection of trinkets and relics lying within, shimmering like lost stars. A dagger, ornate and deadly, lay at the center, cloaked in an ether of mystery. "Take it!" Elena screamed, cutting down another guard as her words pierced through the fog of uncertainty. Alaric reached for the dagger, his heart thundering. As soon as he touched it, visions surged through him, images of battles long past, of blood-soaked earth and cries of the fallen. Pain sliced through his chest like a knife. Had the box been a keeper of lost histories? Or was it a trap set by Valerius, harnessing the very essence of despair? Why are you wasting time? Valerius bellowed, the sound vibrating through the hall, snapping Alaric out of the trance. He gripped the dagger tightly, a surge of power and clarity washing over him. Maybe this was the key they needed. He had to hope it was, and fast. With renewed fervor, Alaric turned toward the melee. The guards formed a wall of muscle and steel, but now he couldn't just stand there. "We're not done yet," he yelled, brandishing the dagger like a beacon. It glowed faintly, and in that moment, Alaric felt a rush of energy pour into him. "Push forward," he shouted, rallying the rebels behind him. His voice cut through the tumult, igniting a fire of resolve in their hearts. But Valerius's laughter echoed, twisted and maniacal. "Fools! You think you can wield that against me?" The king's eyes narrowed, transforming into slits of rage. "You'll see. Your choices have already doomed you." Alaric's chest tightened at the warning. He could feel the stakes rising, a weight of uncertainty pressing down like a looming shadow. The rebel force surged forward, lip curling into determined grimaces, driven by desperation. With Alaric leading, they crashed into the guards, their strikes synchronized like blades of a storm. But fear loomed behind Valerius's manic laughter, a sinister energy that crackled like electricity. Elena fought beside him, her movements fluid and fierce. She parried a blow aimed at Alaric's side, her breath coming out in ragged gasps. "What are you waiting for? Use it," she urged, desperation shining in her eyes. Alaric raised the dagger again. It pulsed with a glow that seemed to resonate with light and shadow both. Would it protect them? Or were they simply playing into Valerius's hands? His heart throbbed. Could the dagger turn the tide, or was it a double-edged sword? As the guards pushed back, Valerius's expression morphed into something almost unrecognizable, fury mixed with chilling curiosity. "Do you seek to wield power you do not understand?" he sneered, his voice low and venomous. "You are but children in a world ruled by darkness." A wave of fear crashed over Alaric. What if he had unleashed something he couldn't control? Would the dagger end up being their undoing? The conflict around them swelled, swords clashed, and bodies fell. The air thickened with urgency, desperation clinging like smoke. "Trust it," Elena shouted, slicing through another guard. "We need to end this." Taking a breath, Alaric felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had to act. But as he stepped forward, ready to confront Valerius head-on with the dagger, the ground trembled again. A sudden, bone-chilling voice echoed through the chaos. "You have awakened what was long thought to be buried." What had he unleashed? What horrors lurked beneath the surface of this battle, hidden until now? As the question loomed large, dread coiled in Alaric's stomach. This was far from over. What other depths of darkness awaited them? And could the dagger be the salvation or the ultimate doom of their fight? A deep rumble shook the hall, sending shivers racing down Alaric's spine. The air grew heavy, charged with an energy that seemed to pulse from the dagger itself. He could feel it thrumming against his palm, alive and aware, and suddenly he wondered if it was not just a weapon but a conduit of ancient forces best left untouched. "Alaric!" Elena yelled, her voice barely piercing through the din. She was locked in combat, parrying strike after strike, her breath coming in frantic gasps. Behind her, the tide of guards surged, like a feverish wave crashing relentlessly against them. "Stay close!" he shouted back, trying to reach her through the chaos. But the sight of her fighting with all she had propelled him forward. Valerius's laughter echoed again, twisted and raspy. "You think that blade can turn the tide? You have no idea what you face." His eyes gleamed with a dark fervor, and Alaric felt the darkness creeping closer, suffocating in its intensity. Before Alaric could respond, the ground beneath them shook violently, sending debris tumbling. Windows shattered, and the sound was deafening, a chorus of destruction. Whispers threaded through the air, like a chilling melody beckoning from the shadows. Awaken, awaken! This was not just a battle anymore. It was a storm brewing, a nexus of ancient power emerging from beneath the dust of history. What is happening? Alaric gasped, glancing around as fragments of the past began to swirl and coalesce, forming fleeting shapes in the chaos. Ghostly visages of warriors long fallen flickered into view, their faces marked with agony and rage, reaching out as if to warn him. Fight! Fight! They urged in a chorus of despair. Elena, can you hear it? Alaric shouted, his voice strained. She looked back, fear knitting her brow as she barely managed to fend off a guard's thrust. What? What do you mean? She was struggling, but there was determination in her eyes, a spark of fight that Alaric admired even in the face of madness. Those voices. They're calling. He lifted the dagger higher, believing that somehow it could channel the energy swirling around them. I think, it's revealing something. No. Valerius bellowed, his face twisting into rage. You meddle with forces beyond your understanding. You will pay. As Alaric stood firm, the visions surrounding them intensified, the fallen warriors coalescing into a roiling cloud of fury and despair. They surged forth, their ghostly forms merging with the shadows, eager to confront Valerius. But then the air shifted, dark and menacing, taking on a life of its own, heart racing. Alaric felt the dagger respond, its blade glowing more fiercely than before. Could it be the key? Could it unleash the power they needed to turn this tide? But uncertainty gnawed at him. What if he was awakening something malevolent? Alaric! Elena's voice broke through his thoughts as a guard lunged toward him. The rusted sword barely grazed his shoulder, and he stumbled back, startled. The dagger slipped from his grip but didn't clatter to the ground. It hovered for a moment, glowing like a supernova, before spiraling back into his hand as if drawn by the very fabric of fate. Use it. Now! She shouted. Her urgency ignited an instinctive fire within him. Was he truly ready to embrace whatever lay ahead? With no second thoughts, Alaric charged forward, the dagger erupting with light as he focused all his energy. It was time to unleash everything it offered. As he advanced towards Valerius, countless shadows rose up behind him. The forgotten ghosts of the past stood ready to fight alongside them, but then a piercing scream cut through the air, echoing in the hall like the tolling of a mournful bell, freezing everyone in place. The guards halted, terror filling their eyes as they turned towards the sound. What had they disturbed? And what price would they pay for meddling in forces greater than themselves? Was this their moment of salvation or the dawning of their ultimate doom? As the shadows swirled and the dagger hummed with power, Alaric knew one thing: they were about to plunge deeper into the darkness than ever before. Would they emerge victorious, or would they become one more tale in the annals of forsaken kings? The scream cut through him like a knife, freezing Alaric in his tracks. The walls of the hall grew ominously quiet, and the only sound left was the racing pulse in his ears. Shadows still danced around them, but now they felt heavier, more oppressive, as if they were tightening a noose. What was that? Elena gasped, glancing over her shoulder. She was breathing hard, the fight momentarily forgotten. Alaric could see the wild panic in her eyes, and he felt it mirrored in his own heart. I don't know, he said, throat dry. But we need to. A sudden wind rushed past them, cold and biting, making Alaric shiver even as sweat dripped down his brow. The whispers grew louder, swirling around him like frantic bees. Awaken, awaken! The cries of the fallen turned frantic as their forms began to morph, distorting before his eyes. What are they trying to tell us? Elena's voice shook. Her grip on her sword tightened, knuckles white, every bit the warrior she had been trained to be. Alaric searched her face for solace, unsure of anything other than the grip of the dagger in his palm. Valerius stood still, dark energy swirling around him like smoke. His laughter returned, echoing off the stone walls, mocking and delirious. You think they are here to help you? They are nothing but remnants of what you will become. With a cackle, he threw his arms back, and to Alaric's horror, the shadows shifted. Wispy tendrils broke free from the masses and slithered towards the guards, who stared in wide-eyed terror. "No!" Alaric shouted, lunging forward instinctively. The dagger flashed in his hand, almost as if sensing his intentions, and a blast of light shot from its blade. It hit the nearest shadow, dispersing it like mist under the sun. "Keep moving," Elena urged, rushing to his side, rallying her strength. They couldn't let the rising darkness consume them. It felt as if the very air thickened with despair and agony, twisting into something grotesque, but the moment of reprieve faded. The shadows surged back, more aggressive, pouring from the walls and ceilings like unending ink from an overfilled cup. The guards were no longer just frightened, they were slipping into madness, their sanity teetering. Out of the corner of his eye, Alaric spotted them. Other figures vile and twisted, they emerged from the very fabric of the shadows. Forms of ancient kings, faces etched with horror and malice, all screaming to be freed. Their eyes locked onto Alaric and Elena with a desperate hunger. "Fight! Fight!" They screamed, stretching skeletal hands towards Alaric, urging him onward, though he had no idea how to help them. He could sense the danger enveloping them, thick and bittersweet. The dagger pulsed again, now vibrating erratically, and he squeezed it tighter as heat surged through him. "Elena!" He yelled, but the words caught in his throat. She was turning pale, succumbing to the palpable dread. "We can't let them win. We have to fight back." "But how?" she cried, desperation edging her voice. "They're everywhere." Then, as if answering her question, the dagger blazed brighter. Visions overwhelmed Alaric, sights of mighty warriors wielding the blade, summoning storms, bending shadows. He understood in that instant, this was a weapon of resurrection. But to resurrect the fallen, would it also require a sacrifice? As Valerius stepped closer, a maniacal grin breaking across his face, Alaric felt a surge of resolve mixed with trepidation. They had to channel this power, to bind it to their will, or be crushed under its ancient curse. Was he strong enough to bear the weight of the past? A heated pulse echoed through him, as the dagger seemed to answer his unspoken thoughts. He stepped forward, ready to ascend to whatever fate awaited, but the spirits wailed, drowning out his thoughts. The scream rose again, piercing the silence, and this time, it wasn't just an echo. It was a calling, an unraveling of destiny that lay just ahead. What price would they pay in search of power? As Alaric steeled himself for whatever came next, the hall vibrated with a sudden explosion of energy. Merging past and present in twisted harmony. Would they claim the power they desperately needed, or would it consume them entirely? The shadowy figures swirled around Alaric and Elena, their ethereal forms flickering in and out of focus. Desperation clawed at his throat as the chorus of the damned grew louder, echoing the anguish of battles lost to time. His heart raced, burdened by the weight of their cries. "This is our chance!" Alaric roared, brandishing the dagger, its glow illuminating the darkness. "We can fight back." Elena nodded, her resolve sharpening as she gripped her sword tighter. "Together!" she shouted back, urgency bubbling in her voice. They moved as one, breaking through the shroud of shadows, but they had to unleash the dagger's true power. Somewhere in the depths of the dark energy, twisted histories cried out for justice, waiting to be released. Alaric felt the surge of the dagger, a pull from the world beyond, igniting a fire within him. "I will not be a pawn in Valerius's game," he declared, pushing through the veil like a lighthouse against a storm. Valerius's laughter echoed, each cackle piercing through Alaric's focus. "Foolish mortals! You think that pathetic blade will save you?" The king raised his hands, dark tendrils snaking from the edges of the room, aiming directly for the pair. "Surrender, become part of my legacy." "No," Alaric said defiantly, digging deep within himself. He felt the dagger resonate with his spirit, the memory of every fallen warrior filling his heart. He closed his eyes, tapping into that energy, feeling the echoes intertwine with his own heartbeat, like a symphony rising to a crescendo. "I command you!" he shouted, voice booming as he plunged the dagger into the ground. A shockwave erupted, sending a bright flash of light across the hall and breaking the shackles of fear binding everyone there. The shadowy forms wailed as if struck by a hammer. They twisted and writhed, some breaking loose from Valerius's grasp, their spirits bewildered yet bolstered by Alaric's conviction. Light poured from the dagger and engulfed Elena as she swung her sword, cutting through the tendrils. "Now, Alaric!" she cried out, her courage igniting in his heart. He reached out, channeling the spirit of countless warriors who had suffered under Valerius's tyranny. "Purity, be restored." The air crackled with energy, and the dagger thrummed with the voices of the fallen, reaching a pitch as if awakening something deep below. Shadows lashed out desperately, converting back into specters only to be met with the new storm of light that surged from the center of the room. "No!" Valerius spat, his voice a raw snarl as he staggered back, realizing he was losing control. In a final push, Alaric directed the light forward, and a beam shot out like the crack of dawn piercing the darkness. It collided with Valerius, who screamed, the sound of his fury fading as the light enveloped him. Faces of the past flashed before Alaric's eyes, heroes who had fought, bled, and died for freedom, resurrected by the energy of the dagger. He could feel their strength flowing into him, merging seamlessly, forming an unbreakable wall of resolve against the encroaching horrors, yet among them, Alaric felt a tinge of sorrow. What would this victory cost? As Valerius was consumed by the radiance, whispers of gratitude poured forth from the liberated spirits spiraling into the expanse. The hall quaked as both shadows and whispers fused, a beautiful spectacle rather than a terrifying sight, freedom heralded by their persistence, but before Alaric could celebrate, he sensed a shift, a pull from the dagger. "It's not over," he warned Elena, eyes narrowed. She faltered, eyes swirling with doubt. "What more can it demand?" "I don't know, but we face whatever is left." Elena stepped beside him, eyes fierce. Together. In that moment, they drew strength from one another, hearts pounding as one. Shadows roared with renewed ferocity, but now they had the power of the dagger, a conduit between realms, echoing the voices of the brave. The duo advanced, arms raised, shouting, "We are the voice of the fallen. You will not hold us." The light poured forth, the shadows shrieked, and the darkness began to splinter. Alaric knew they were witnessing something profound, the dawn of a new era, a battle not just with Valerius but within themselves. Rising through the chaos, they prepared for the final confrontation. As they surged forward hand in hand, they stepped into the unknown, ready to wrestle the fate of their world from the clutches of darkness. Would the dagger's power be enough to seal their victory? Or would each pulse of darkness reveal a new layer of betrayal waiting to unfurl? In this moment of reckoning, the weight of destiny settled on their shoulders, and the future waited in breathless anticipation. The hall fell silent, shadows quivering as light pushed against the edges of despair, and a new dawn broke. This was the culmination of their fight, and in that flicker of hope, they knew one truth: together, they could uncover their kingdom's salvation. If you want to see how the story unfolds and witness more incredible tales, you need to subscribe now. Don't let this moment slip away. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this. Your support makes all the difference.